Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're grabbing something super common, probably sitting in your kitchen right now, that box of baking soda. What does it really do for your teeth? You hear a lot about it, for getting a whiter smile.
Definitely. It's a popular home remedy idea, but then there are also warnings about potential damage.
Right, so is it this amazing, simple, secret weapon, or could it actually be a bit of a dental dilemma long term?
That's what we want to unpack.
Our mission here is to look at what the findings tell us about how effective it is, how safe it is. We'll get into its texture, how it interacts with enamel,
And its chemical side too, like neutralizing acids.
and how it might deal with bacteria in your mouth. Plus, crucially, what it doesn't have that dental science says you really need.
So we could figure out, is this everyday item a miracle or maybe even a menace for your teeth down the line?
Let's dive in and see what this white powder actually does.
Okay, so the idea of using it to clean teeth is, well, it's really old. It's a traditional thing.
You think of that fine, granular powder. People have used it for ages. But that texture, that grittiness, it immediately raises a question, doesn't it?
It does. Is it gently polishing? Or is it, potentially scratching away at your enamel, that vital protective layer?
Which we know doesn't grow back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That gets right to how it works. Its cleaning power is mainly from its mild abrasiveness.
Okay, abrasive, what does that mean exactly?
Well, those tiny sodium bicarbonate crystals are actually harder than the stuff that makes up surface stains, from coffee, tea, red wine, tobacco.
Okay.
So when you brush, the crystals physically rub against the tooth surface. It's a mechanical action. It buffs away those extrinsic stains, the ones sitting on the outside.
See, it's not bleaching, like changing the deep color.
No, not at all. It's just revealing the tooth's natural shade underneath by scrubbing off the surface discoloration.
Got it. So it's like cleaning a dirty window rather than tinting it.
That's a good analogy. And it's definitely more abrasive than just water or like a smooth gel toothpaste.
But maybe less than some commercial whitening pastes.
Often, yes, though those vary a lot. Its effectiveness really comes from physically removing that stained film, the pellicle and other debris that builds up.
Okay, so that's the physical scrubbing part. But you mentioned a chemical side, too. It's alkalinity.
Yes, and this is pretty significant for your mouth's health. Baking soda is an alkali. When you dissolve it, the pH is usually around 8.3.
And why does that matter in your mouth?
Because your mouth can easily become acidic, especially after you eat or drink sugary stuff, or acidic things like soda.
Right, the acid attacks.
Exactly. And bacteria in plaque, like Streptococcus mutans, they produce acids too. When the pH drops below about 5.5, enamel starts to demineralize, minerals dissolve out of the tooth.
Which is how cavities start forming.
Precisely. So when you introduce something alkaline like baking soda, it acts as a buffer. It neutralizes those acids.
Okay.
It raises the pH of your saliva and the film on your teeth, making the environment less acidic. It gives your enamel some temporary protection from those acid attacks.
So it kind of helps reset the balance after eating or drinking something acidic.
It does. It helps counteract that immediate acid challenge. Think of that like a fine exfoliant for your teeth, removing food bits, early plaque, those surface stains.
Combining the scrubbing and the acid neutralizing.
Right. And that combination is what often gives that initial feeling and look of cleaner, brighter teeth.
Is that why you sometimes see it listed as an ingredient in regular toothpastes?
That's a big part of it. Manufacturers know about these cleaning and pH benefits, but crucially, when they put it in toothpaste, they formulate it very carefully. They combine it with other things, detergents, flavorings, and the really key one, fluoride. They're trying to get some baking soda benefits alongside essential protection.
Okay, so to recap this part, it can definitely help with surface stains, making teeth look brighter for a bit.
By physically removing them.
And it helps make the mouth temporarily less acidic, which is protective.
Correct. Those are the immediate takeaways on its physical and chemical actions.
But what about the germs, the bacteria living in our mouths? Let's get into that, the sort of germ warfare aspect.
Okay, because a healthy mouth isn't just about looks. It's about controlling harmful bacteria.
And there's this idea that baking soda actively fights the bacteria behind cavities and gum disease. What's the reality there?
Well, at first, let's talk about plaque. It's not just leftover food. It's a sticky, organized biofilm.
Biofilm.
It is. It's a community of bacteria living in this matrix they create, mixed with food bits and saliva. It sticks tight to your teeth.
And that's the main culprit for gingivitis and decay, right?
Absolutely. And because it's so organized and sticky, you need to physically break it up. That's what brushing does.
So does baking soda give you an extra edge against these microbes beyond just the brushing motion?
Yes, that physical texture we talked about comes back into play. That mild abrasiveness helps disrupt the biofilm. The crystals physically dislodge the bacteria and break apart that plaque matrix. It's like scrubbing barnacles off a ship's hull. This mechanical action helps break up their stronghold and reduces the total bacterial load.
So it's physically dismantling their little cities on your teeth.
That's a decent way to think about it.
Yeah.
And there is evidence for this. Studies have shown that toothpaste with baking soda do have measurable antibacterial properties that help protect against decay.
Really? Like specific studies?
Yes, some research, including findings published in respected dental journals, found that baking soda toothpastes were significantly better at removing plaque compared to those without it. They even saw a dose response. More baking soda meant more plaque removal.
Interesting. And does the pH affect the alkalinity play a role with bacteria too?
It definitely does. When you rinse or brush with baking soda, the mouth's pH goes up, becomes more alkaline.
And why does that bother the bacteria?
Because many of the harmful ones, especially the acid producers like Streptococcus mutans, they really thrive in acidic conditions. An alkaline environment is just less comfortable for them, less conducive to their growth and multiplication.
So it makes the neighborhood less friendly for the bad guys?
Pretty much. The pH shift helps neutralize their acid waste products and generally makes the mouth less hospitable for the bacteria causing plaque and trouble.
So the combination is physically breaking up plaque and making the environment less acidic and less bacteria friendly.
That sums it up well. It's primarily working through that physical disruption and the environmental pH change, rather than acting like a direct antiseptic that kills everything. It makes it harder for harmful bacteria to flourish.
Okay, so it seems baking soda does have some valuable points in managing bacteria, breaking up plaque, changing the pH. It tackles surface stains, helps with acid. But you mentioned earlier there's a really crucial missing piece if you just use baking soda alone.
Here is, and this is the big one. This is why dentists generally advise against using only baking soda.
Right. Let's get into the red flags. We've seen the potential upsides. Stains, bacteria help, acid buffering. Seems okay, maybe even good. But dental groups like the ABA and dentists themselves often caution against relying solely on plain baking soda.
And the main reason is very simple but absolutely critical for long-term health. Pure baking soda contains 0 fluoride.
No fluoride at all.
None. And that's the number one concern. Fluoride isn't just some minor additive. It's fundamental in preventing cavities. The ADA doesn't support using baking soda alone precisely because it lacks this crucial component.
Why is fluoride considered so essential? What does it actually do?
Fluoride works in multiple ways to protect teeth. First, it strengthens enamel. When it's present in your mouth, it gets incorporated into the enamel's crystal structure.
Making it tougher.
Yes, forming something called fluoroapatite, which is significantly more resistant to acid attacks than the natural hydroxyapatite in enamel. Second, this stronger enamel can better withstand the demineralization caused by those bacterial acids.
Okay, so it builds a stronger defense.
And third, maybe most impressively, fluoride actively helps remineralize enamel. It helps repair tiny spots of early damage by attracting calcium and phosphate back into the tooth surface before a full cavity forms.
Wow, so it actually helps rebuild minor damage.
It does, and the protection level is often related to the concentration. More fluoride in toothpaste can offer more benefit, up to a point.
So if you use only baking soda, you're completely missing out on all of that. The strengthening, the resistance, the repair.
Exactly. You're denying your teeth that vital topical fluoride exposure. No matter how well baking soda might clean the surface or buffer pH for a moment, it simply cannot do what fluoride does to strengthen and repair enamel against decay over time.
So you might get cleaner looking teeth in the short term.
But you're leaving them much more vulnerable to cavities in the long run. You're sacrificing proven defense for surface cleaning.
Are there other, maybe more practical reasons dentists are hesitant, like just using it?
There's the user experience factor. Let's be honest, for a lot of people, plain baking soda tastes pretty bad, salty, gritty.
Not exactly minty fresh.
Right. And that's not trivial. If brushing feels unpleasant, you're probably less likely to do it for the full 2 minutes or as thoroughly, which undermines your whole oral hygiene routine anyway.
Some people do worry about fluoride safety, though.
That comes up. But fluoride toxicity from toothpaste is extremely rare. You'd have to swallow a very large amount, which is mainly a concern for very young kids who haven't learned to spit properly.
Okay.
For most people using it as directed brushing and spitting, the dental community overwhelmingly agrees that the proven significant benefits of fluoride for preventing cavities far outweigh any minimal risks. The amounts in ADA-accepted toothpastes are safe and effective for topical use.
So the biggest warning sign from dentists really boils down to that lack of fluoride. Using baking soda alone leaves your teeth unprotected against decay, despite any other benefits it might have.
That's the core message grounded in dental science. And that lack of protection, coupled with its texture, leads us to the other major concern: abrasion.
Okay, let's tackle that. The very thing that helps it clean that gritty texture can also be its downfall if you're not careful. The double-edged sword idea.
Exactly. The main risk is enamel erosion. You'll see warnings like, excessive brushing with baking soda may wear down enamel, or frequent use may gradually wear down enamel.
And enamel is that hard outer layer, the irreplaceable one.
Irreplaceable is the key word. It's tough, but it's finite. Once it's worn away, your body can't make more.
So if you brush too hard or too often, or maybe use a hard brush with it.
Any of those. The small abrasive particles can literally wear away that enamel over time. We found notes saying the small particles can cause tiny scratches if you do not use it right. Each brushing adds a tiny bit of wear. Over months, years, that adds up.
And what happens when enamel gets too thin? What are the consequences?
They can be pretty serious. One big one is increased tooth sensitivity. As enamel wears down, the layer underneath, called dentin, gets exposed.
And dentin is different.
Very different. It's softer, more porous, and full of tiny tubes that lead towards the nerve. So hot, cold, sweet, acidic things can trigger pain. It can lead to significant tooth sensitivity, discomfort, makes eating and drinking miserable.
Ouch. Does losing enamel also make you more prone to cavities?
Yes, definitely. You get a higher susceptibility to cavities and increased vulnerability to decay. Exposed dentin is much easier for acid to attack, and decay progresses faster once it hits that softer layer.
And isn't there an aesthetic downside too?
Ironically, yes. As the enamel things, teeth can actually start looking more yellow. That's because the dentin underneath has a natural yellowish color, and it starts showing through the thinner, more translucent enamel.
So if someone does choose to use it, moderation sounds absolutely critical.
It's paramount. Experts strongly advise limiting its use. Don't use it every day. Think of it as an occasional add-on, maybe just once or twice a week maximum.
Treat it like a supplement, not the main event.
Exactly. That infrequent use drastically cuts down the cumulative abrasive effect. It really should be used gently and sparingly.
And how you brush matters just as much as how often, right?
Absolutely vital. You need to actively work to brush gently, use light pressure, and always, always use a soft bristled toothbrush.
Why soft specifically?
Because medium or hard bristles combined with an abrasive like baking soda will seriously accelerate enamel wear. They can also contribute to gum recession over time. Also use just small amounts. You don't need to load up the brush.
The goal is gentle surface stain lifting, not power washing your teeth.
Precisely. Gentle lifting, not aggressive scouring.
And we need to keep expectations in check about the whitening aspect too.
Definitely. Remember, it only works on extrinsic surface stains, coffee, tea, tobacco, that kind of thing. It's not a bleaching agent and cannot change the intrinsic color of enamel.
So it won't make naturally yellowish teeth pearly white.
No. It just removes the surface grime to reveal the natural color underneath. It won't touch deeper intrinsic stains inside the tooth. For those, you need professional treatments with different chemical agents.
Okay, so summarizing the safety precautions, limit use to maybe once or twice a week tops. Be very gentle with light pressure, always use a soft brush, and only use a small amount. That's the way to try and avoid enamel thinning, sensitivity, and higher cavity risk.
That covers the crucial precautions based on what we've looked at, which logically leads us to the final verdict. Where does baking soda actually fit, if at all, in a healthy dental routine?
Right, let's pull it all together. We've seen the pros. Helps with surface stains, might disrupt some bacteria, neutralizes acids, and it's cheap. But we've also seen the significant cons. Mainly, no fluoride, which is critical, plus the risk of abrasion, potential sensitivity, and the taste texture issue.
And the official guidance from dental science is pretty consistent on this. The ADA does not recommend using baking soda alone as a primary toothpaste because it lacks fluoride.
And that's based on solid evidence about fluoride's role in preventing cavities and strengthening enamel.
Absolutely. It's not just an opinion. So the main professional recommendation is clear. ADA-approved fluoride toothpastes are the foundation of daily oral care.
That should be everyone's starting point.
Yes. If you do choose to use baking soda, It really should only be an infrequent supplementary thing. Once or twice a week, max, applied gently, like we discussed, not a daily replacement.
Because replacing your fluoride toothpaste entirely
Is not recommended based on current dental science.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
But what about people who like the idea of baking soda's cleaning feel but want the safety? Is there a middle ground?
Yes, and this is generally the preferred alternative if you like some of baking soda's properties.
Yeah.
Use commercial toothpaste that contain both baking soda and fluoride.
The combo products.
Exactly. They're formulated by scientists to try and give you some of the baking soda benefits, cleaning, maybe some pH buffering, alongside the absolutely essential cavity protection of fluoride.
And when you're picking any toothpaste, checking the label is key.
It really is. Always look for fluoride listed as an active ingredient. And ideally, look for the ADA seal of acceptance.
What does that seal signify again?
It means the product has been evaluated and meets the standards for safety and effectiveness in preventing cavities. It's like an independent stamp of approval that it's safe and actually does what it claims in terms of cavity prevention.
Good to know. And one last reminder on the whitening.
Right. Plain baking soda only tackles surface stains. It won't fundamentally change your tooth color. If you want whiter teeth beyond your natural shade or have deep stains, you need different approaches, whitening strips with peroxide or professional treatments from your dentist. Those use different chemistry.
Okay, so let's nail down the final verdict. Daily routine. Use an ADA-approved fluoride toothpaste that's non-negotiable for protection.
Correct.
Plain baking soda. Maybe as a very occasional supplement once or twice a week, super gentle, soft brush, small amount bearing in mind the risks and lack of fluoride.
Use with extreme caution and infrequency, if at all.
A better alternative if you like baking soda. Use a commercial toothpaste that specifically includes both baking soda and fluoride, and ideally has the ADA seal.
That's the much safer route to get some potential benefits without sacrificing essential protection.
And replacing your fluoride toothpaste entirely with plain baking soda.
Definitely not recommended by dental science. You're losing far too much protection.
Okay, that seems like a clear conclusion.
It does, based on the balance of evidence.
So, wrapping up this deep dive on baking soda for teeth, what's the core message people should take away?
I think it's that while baking soda isn't entirely without any effect, it can help with surface stains, maybe nudge the pH slightly. It has really critical shortcomings and real risks. The lack of fluoride is huge, and the abrasion danger is significant if you misuse it.
It's just not a complete solution on its own for keeping your mouth healthy long term, especially against cavities.
Exactly. Prioritizing fluoride consistently in your daily brushing has to be the cornerstone for protecting your teeth. That's what the science strongly supports.
And as always, if you have specific questions about your own teeth,
talk to your dentist.
Yeah.
They can give you personalized advice based on your actual oral health situation.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. When we look for simple, natural, or perhaps aesthetic fixes, how crucial is it to weigh those against the proven science that ensures fundamental long-term health and protection, especially for something you can't grow back, like your tooth enamel? Plain baking soda, infrequent gentle supplement only, combination pastes, a decent option if they have fluoride and the ADO seal, but ditching fluoride altogether, not advised.
That sums it up perfectly.
So the core message for you listening is baking soda has some cleaning tricks, but that lack of fluoride and the abrasion risk mean it's just not a substitute for your regular dentist-approved fluoride toothpaste.
Couldn't agree more. And always, always talk to your own dentist. They know your mouth, your history, and can give you the best personalized advice. They'll definitely emphasize the fluoride too.
So perhaps something to ponder is that balance, finding the sweet spot between appealing natural remedies and the scientifically proven methods that really protect your oral health long term. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into baking soda.